Hi, I'm Sharon Whitebear, and I serve on the Native American Commission for the City of Fargo. I come from central North Dakota on the Riccara Nation. We also have the MHA, it's the MHA Nation, but I come from the Riccaras. Well, I was one of the founding members for the NAC we started in 2006 when we started that, and so I've been on there since then. I also help work at an office here in Fargo for the MHA Nation for the tribal members there. So that's kind of what I do right here, right now. I have one son. He went to the Fargo Public Schools here since he was 3 and graduated, so we are very connected to Fargo. There was a few people that were kind of sitting around and they thought of, what can we do when we want to bring forth things for the Native American community in Fargo. One of the big things we like to do is, to show their pride, show the things they do. We would have an award that was for any Native person could get that award and to see if they'd done something throughout the year. So then we said, well, we have a day that is really not appropriate for us, for the Native Americans, just due to the fact that it never really happened. And that was the Columbus Day. And we knew that he hadn't come to America at all. So we wanted to be able to do like some of their homeland people do where we're from, is we call it All Chiefs Day, or again, Indigenous Peoples Day. And we'd seen around the country, there was very few, but there was some of the larger cities who had already started that. And we thought that would be appropriate for here if we could recognize that, just to recognize the fact that Columbus never came here. And we survived. Our chiefs are the ones that helped us through. Our ancestors, they survived. And so that's why we thought it was very important to have Indigenous Peoples Day recognized, especially in this area where there were North Dakota has one of the larger populations of Native Americans, and throughout this region of Minnesota. And so to honor the people that live here and our ancestors, we really wanted to try to do that. We were the first city in North Dakota to get that proclamation passed. And soon following, of course, is our sister city in Moorhead in Minnesota. I'm not sure which other cities in North Dakota have that right now, but I know that we started that. One of the things that part of our, our journey to get this passed was of course, the language. What did we want to put in that proclamation? And throughout the city, we had various people with different degrees of education, different tribal information, and we really wanted to make sure that everything was included here. Some of the language, it did get to be tough because everyone wasn't agreeing on the language, and that's not just the Native American people, but also the city government and the people on that side. It seemed like there was a different side. They wanted different language. They didn't want it to be so harsh, and that was kind of hard for us because we felt like when you tell some story and you're on this journey, you need to tell the truth. You need to say what's happening here. And some of our language was asked to be left out at that time in order to have the rest of the government, the city government and the people be able to feel like they were comfortable with that as well. That was a compromise for us, but we did that at the time. And the other part is the part of feeling so good to say, we're going to be honored. This is something that you just is like unbelievable almost, that we're going to get to do this and we're going to be recognized for this, for the helping to begin this journey. And those feelings throughout was what kept us going as well. Things can be daunting, but things in this case that pushed us to get this passed, especially to honor our ancestors. That was part of that journey, I think. Okay, it was 2006. That was when we started to do this. And I'd say that it took us at least, we knew that October was coming up closer. And we decided to start this. I believe we started it in around May or so. But I know that the language was, we'd meet in different places, different times with the other Native American people around. And then we talked to, of course, the city commissioners, the Fargo city commissioners. We also, talked with other people in the community. And it showed the evening was ironic because it landed on the Columbus Day that they had their meeting. The Fargo City Commission had their meeting, and we were on the agenda to bring forth this proclamation. And the city hall was never ever that full. The people were crowded out into the hallway as well, and they had various speakers come up. And throughout the community, we had all different organizations for this, speaking just for this, to have it passed, and it was able to be passed that day. So it took us a while to write it, and then edit it with people, and then to really push to get it passed on that day. So it was very, very humbling, and I guess I'm just very proud of that we were able to do that for the city and for all the Native community as well. We had a little powwow. Of course, we have to celebrate with dance and song, and that's what powwows are about, is to bring together that. We also gave out an award in honor of a lady who lived in this area, Mrs. Gladys Ray, and we had a shelter named after her at some point, but we started to give out an award to somebody who has given so much to this community in the past. She's a Native American elder. Let's see, what else did we do? We had, of course, we had a meal. That's one of our, things we're taught to do, and that's just what we do, is we always have a big meal. So we had a meal served. And I think that a lot of people enjoyed it. We also tried to, we did include the students in the area, and we brought someone in so they could have some kind of learning experience and do some Native American events or activities, and so that was really something, because we had quite a few children who came here to Fargo from Sisseton and the surrounding areas to be part of that. And we had honor guard to bring in. The drum was here, and like I said, we had the powwow, but we also had a little thing in the morning. This city of government people were there, and we read the proclamation, and I think it went very well for the first time. One of the things we vowed to do is always to have a piece of education in there. And I think this year overall is going to be one of those times when there's going to be a lot of education, because there's so many presenters we're doing this virtual. And so I think that it'll be very, very good ceremony again this year. I would really like to see more people throughout the whole community gather, and when it is a chance for us to get back together. And I hope that at that time we will be over with the pandemic. We can get together and have people share in our traditions. I'd like to see them have a parade. I think that would be very educational as well, to have people with different regalia, the things they wear. I'd like to see more engagement throughout the Fargo Public Schools during that day, to have events for all the students, some educational piece that they could learn from. There's many ideas that could be had, but I hope that it continues to have we have a celebration of some type every year, to have the programming to, again, as we said, educate as well as celebrate this event, the Indigenous Peoples Day. I'd say that if someone wanted to start trying to do that, you need to, first of all, gather some people together, but you need to have your city government on board. Of course, we could have never done this without the people on the other side of the table who make those decisions. And then you need to bring the rest of the community along, not just the Native American community, but the entire community that you live in. And use it as educational. As they say, what we've all learned in history in the books is not the truth. And it's time to have the truth. And I think that if you go about it in ways like that, I think that will help you to get that, to have those pieces together to be successful in getting recognized in your city or town. Everybody is different. I think you have to bring to the table, there's always going to be someone who's for or against something that you're doing. As we say in many things, you can't please everybody, but you have to have someone strength, willing to pursue it, push for it. As there's many people in history who said, they didn't succeed the first time, but then they tried again. They didn't just say, oh, it's over. You have to push for it if there's people who are against it, and make people understand what it means for Native Americans to have that recognition and have that feeling of, yes, we're honoring our ancestors and we're putting out the facts as they are for us. I think that would be one of the characteristics of the people. They need to be strong, but you also need to be humble. There's no way to do things with such a forceful way without having that humble piece with that, and feel comfortable being honored in the end when things were successful for it. For one of the things I'd like to say also is thank you for the Fargo community supporting us on that day. Thank you for the people who were willing to push forward and write and help getting this going, to ask for this day to be done. I'd like to thank the city commissioners, Fargo city commissioners at that time, who had the foresight to, yes, pass that and understand what it meant to the Fargo Native community. I really think that was a step forward for our people in this Fargo community at that time. And I appreciate all the people, everyone who helped do this, because a lot of people put their signature on this. They may have added one word or helped with this, line, and so all of it came together and was successful, and that was very important. So I really want to recognize all the people who had a hand in that. And if you were there, you know who you are. And so thank you very much for being part of that.